Hey everyone, what's going on? It's your host Adam here of the Baseball World Today podcast. Not too much to talk about, but there's some things we want to talk about and some points I want to bring up today. So let's just get right into it with some of the news. The big one being Justin Turner signing with the Dodgers, re-signing with the Dodgers on a 2-year deal. This is kind of what we all expected, I believe, but it seems like the Brewers are really interested, and that makes me wonder if they're going to be primed to make any more moves, and maybe if they really do have a real shot at the NL Central, knocking off the Cardinals, but we'll have to keep an eye out for them, I think. I still think they'll have at least one more move in their back pocket before this offseason is done. So, yeah, Turner is coming back to the Dodgers, trying to defend his title. Probably the best option to play third base for them anyway. So, yeah, I mean, this is a great move for them. Mets didn't seem to be that in on Turner as I initially had believed, but this makes me wonder if maybe Chris Bryant is the real target, or if Chris Bryant and a combination of Kyle Hendricks was the real target all along. So, it'll be interesting to see. I think that's something we really need to watch out for. It'll be interesting to see. So, obviously the Dodgers way over the salary cap, but I mean, can you be upset because there's so many teams that don't spend money, and this is just a team that does? But I'm going to talk about the salary cap later, so we'll save that for then. Rich Hill signed with the Rays, $2.5 million. It absolutely blows my mind that Rich Hill gets $2.5 million after a season where he had like an ERA of like 3. But meanwhile, Chris Archer and Jake Arrieta make like more than double after like just multiple horrible seasons. It makes no sense to me. I know he's like 42, but like still, like it just doesn't make sense. Like this man is so underpaid, I feel like. But then I say that, and with his age, it could be you never know with him. But honestly, I think Rich Hill and the Rays is a perfect match because of what their pitching strategy is going to be. So let's talk about it. So it's probably going to be a little similar to last year, but I think a little bit different. Last year, they kind of had 3 major bulk guys. 3 guys where they would let start, basically, and just go for the most part. Snell, Glasnow, and Morton. Well, now only Glasnow remains, so the question is, what will they do with their strategy? Well, they've got a couple, I would say, guys who can certainly give you innings after him in Hill and Archer, and also they've brought in Colin McHugh, who, if healthy, honestly could be a real factor for them with the way they could utilize his off-speed pitches. But I think their strategy is going to be more bullpen than ever, so we're probably going to... I also believe they brought in Michael Wacha, I want to say, but who, again, could be a really good fit. But I think guys like Hill is never going to go through the order a second time. Neither is probably not Archer either, unless he just ends up having like a season like of old, basically. And Michael Wacha could be a perfect guy to even just go through one and a half times, honestly. So Tampa Bay has added Archer, Hill, and Wacha. So it doesn't seem like the wildest thing. And McHugh. But adding all of them for $14 million, I don't think it's too bad. Like, it's not perfect by any means. It's not Blake Snell and Morton. But honestly, with the ways they use their guys, they can make it nearly as effective. And they're going to count on a lot of those bullpen guys. Peter Fairbanks, there's John Curtis. I could go on and on. They traded Alvarado, but they didn't really have as much of a need for him, I think, because of how many guys they have and how they're looking to do things this year. Diego Castillo, I believe they still have. There's so many. Obviously, Nick Anderson. But basically, we just got... Glasnow's going to be the guy, but I think the rest of those guys, I expect to see him for 2 turns of the lineup, and then the bullpen has... I also think the bullpen has multiple guys who can give innings too. And Yarbo I've always really liked. I know there's another I'm missing, but they just have a lot of guys capable of going 3 innings, and I just think they're going to make this able to be worked again, honestly. So we'll see what happens, but I'm not going to doubt this team quite yet, like everyone else seems to be. So now some minor moves. A's actually made a couple just made a couple of good moves, bringing in Gizmo Petit and Sergio Romo. They have not had a good offseason, but these are a couple of good moves to strengthen the pen. They kind of gonna need a great pen this season. Not gonna lie, with some of the losses they've had, but Simeon being the main one. But listen, I'm not sure what my hopes are for this team this year is, but they're gonna be one of the more interesting ones because I think there's a big like I had said before with the Red Sox, there's a big gap of plus minus number ones they could have, honestly. So yeah, I could see it being between like 87 but to 75, quite frankly. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but in baseball it obviously is. So also, Matt Harvey signed with the Orioles on a minor league deal. I mean, this is something that would have excited me 2 years ago, but was at the point was just skipping to minor league teams and seeing what happens. He hasn't really been relevant for a while, which is a shame, but it's just kind of the truth. Jay Bruce has signed with the Yankees. Probably going to be on a minor league deal, so honestly probably will have some sort of backup role. Maybe like some sort of Mike Ford type of role. Maybe he'll lose some of his time, or I'm not sure exactly, but I've seen people concerned with this. Probably because they consider Mike Ford to be Babe Ruth after ESPN compared him there. I have to tell you, the numbers are not similar. So just so you did, in case you didn't know. So now we just have a couple other interesting things to talk about. So first, I'm going to do my standings predictions. So I kind of did this a little bit reacting to them last time, but I'm just going to say what I think. I'm going to start in the AL. AL East, I got Yankees, Rays, Toronto, Red Sox, Baltimore. So yeah, I mean, I think I've explained this one before, so I won't say anything about it otherwise yet. In the Central, right now, I think I'm gonna go Twins. I think I'm gonna go nearly the same as last year: Twins, White Sox, Cleveland, Royals, and Detroit. Detroit has just retained some players, haven't really done anything. Royals have made a couple moves to improve. We saw Benintendi. We saw, Cleveland. You know, like they're still good, but like they're just lost two huge players. But they're still better than the Royals, honestly. And the only real argument I think is between the Twins and White Sox, but I gotta go with the Twins after. I mean, I really would have liked them to bring in a starter. Honestly, you know, I'm gonna go with the White Sox. They just have more pitching, I think. The Twins made some good moves this offseason, but they didn't bring in a starter like they really needed to. Over to the West, I'm going Astros, Oakland, Angels, Seattle, Texas. Astros had like a bad regular season last year, but took the Rays to Game 7 last year, so I think they're probably a lot better than people realize. They lost Springer, but I expect Verlander to be back. The main core guys are just still really good, and you can't forget that. Oakland, I got second. I still think they're a good team. They easily won that division last year, but I still got them a little bit ahead of the Angels, again, because the Angels didn't add the pitcher they needed to. Seattle, who actually did add James Paxton, who I think was a really good move. I was hoping he'd go to more of like a borderline team like the Angels or where was my other one? Maybe like the Blue Jays, but no such luck because I think he's going to have a really good year. I expect him to be traded at the deadline, though, because I don't think the Mariners will be up to much. Now let's move over to the NL, where in the East, I got, going top to bottom, I got Atlanta, I got the Mets, I got Philly, I got Nats, and then I got the Marlins. Atlanta is like, they wore my World Series pick before the Dodgers got Bauer, so I mean, I just believe in this team. I think the Dakota projections were ridiculous, predicting them to end with 80 wins. This team won 35 and went 35 and 25 last year, and added Charlie Morton. Should have all their pitchers ready to go this season because I know they really were just depending on Fried and Anderson at the end of the year. But Soroka should be back. Have all their hitters back. I mean. Second, Mets, a team I still really like. Maybe if they bring in Bryant and Hendricks, they'll be ahead of the Braves. But that's still even a maybe to me. But they're still a really good team, and I still think they kind of do have that hole at third base. And there's still questions about Syndergaard, but otherwise, I think this team is really good. Philly, I got ahead of the Nationals just because I think they've improved at what they really need to, and the Nationals have too, but I just don't think to the same extent. Philly would have been an easy playoff team last year if it wasn't for the bullpen, and they've certainly addressed that and have brought pretty much the same team back otherwise. And then even though the Marlins made the playoffs last year, like they had some good players, especially the top of the rotation. They just weren't really that good, simply put. They got extremely lucky, I think. Not that they are a bad team, but if they were a team like the Central, I might pick them to finish third in that division, but it's just kind of the luck of the draw here. We got two more. Central is the most interesting one, I think. Right now I have the Cardinals, Milwaukee, Cubs, Reds, and Pittsburgh. I think the Cubs will drop below the Reds. Honestly, like I think the Cubs, Reds, and Milwaukee are just about all on the same level, with the Cardinals just being ahead because they added Arenado, but Cubs will probably drop. Reds have gotten worse because they lost Bauer. Cubs have gotten worse, and are probably going to get even worse. So, and I'm not really sure what I think of Milwaukee, but, I think they're still around level with those teams and might really surprise some people this year. But St. Louis is just that team, I think, right now. And then the West, gotta go, obviously, Dodgers, Padres, and then the rest three, I guess Giants, Arizona, and then Colorado, but it's going to be very similar. They're all going to be killed by the Padres and Dodgers this year. So, and we got one more thing to talk about quickly, and so recently, Foolish Baseball, a great YouTube channel for baseball, had an episode on what I would do with baseball. And there's a couple things I want to talk about from it. If you haven't watched the video, I would definitely check it out. But basically, there are two main points that he thinks would really help baseball is this. One, unless it's like some sort of primetime game, especially during school, the tickets should be free to like regular seats Monday through Thursday. So that move is really an investment more than anything because, listen, if you just stop in for a game, you're going to buy food. So, the teams are still going to make money just because because the stadiums will be filled every time. Obviously, it won't happen this year, but I'm saying in the future, or he was really, but people spend on average, I think $40 just buying food there. So if you just get them into the park, you're still going to profit on them being there. And who knows with all the jerseys or whatever they might buy. So I thought that was an interesting idea. Also, could very easily get more fans in. I just think that would be really good, honestly. And it was a surprising one at first, but it makes sense. During the weekdays where there's not as many people, just getting people in is really good, I think, and will lead to more profit. So I think that would be a really good investment by the owners. And we got one more interesting talking point, and that is the salary cap and the salary floor. So this was really interesting. So the only team that would be really affected by a salary cap would be the Dodgers, but basically, it nearly is right now. The Dodgers are the only team over. We've seen a lot of teams make moves to get under the cap in the last year or two because the punishments are getting stricter and stricter. The difference is the Dodgers are so good that they don't care about losing draft picks or anything. So, but what really interests me is the salary floor. Now, even if it's just $100 million, imagine what that would do to the Rays and A's. They would have to spend more money and they could be seriously just better. Now, whether they can actually do this or not, because if they actually have that little money, I don't know, but even if it forces them to move, okay, maybe that's just what should be done at this point. I understand that many people will probably not really want this, but I just think if we could force these bottom teams to spend more, then I just think all of baseball will be more competitive. Imagine the Rays if they got to bring in Ozuna, especially last year. Imagine the Rays with Ozuna; they honestly might be the Dodgers. And imagine the A's if they could have kept Simeon, or even I don't know. There was no one you could have improved with this offseason, but but even like replace him with Didi or something, like that would have been huge. But no. So I just think that would be a really interesting move. So in this proposal, it was 140, which is like way more than some of these bottom teams spend. But even if you make it like 100 or somewhere between there, I just think that'd be really good. And honestly, probably another good investment by the owner is like, all those bottom teams potentially, because you see these great players and more people want to go. I just think so. It's tough though because the A Stadium is typically like can't get really filled. Rays not as much, but they also just went on a playoff run where obviously it was pretty much filled. So yeah, I mean not actually though because there were no fans, so that was pretty dumb by me. But anyway, if we could somehow implement a salary floor, I'm not as much of a. I don't really have a problem with the salary cap being how it is right now, but I'd be fine with it. But I think the salary floor would just be a great thing. So, to wrap it up, Turner back to the Dodgers. Expect the Mets to be aggressive to Bryant and Hendricks, and the Brewers to do something else. Hill is back at the Rays, and the Rays will have the most interesting pitching strategy in the league this year, maybe ever. Bruce to the Yankees, Harvey Orioles, who cares? Batiste and Sergio Romo to the A's, and some interesting ideas from Foolish Baseball that I recommend you all check out that video. So, thank you all for listening.